Hello, I'm Jochen Schleese, founder of Saddlefit for Life. Today I'm going to talk about mapping out the horse. This is the first webinar of our six-part web series, The Fundamentals of Saddlefit. Mapping out the horse was always a must. It was for the safety and the understanding how detrimental saddle fit really can be. We don't have x-ray eyes. We're trying to put two beings together, one horizontal spine, one vertical spine, and the spine of the saddle tree has to align these two beings without long-term damage. Horses have changed over the last 100 years in the breeding, in the actual area where the saddles can and cannot sit. So we need to understand, when is the saddle too far forward? When is the saddle too far on one side? When is the saddle too far back? We as the rider have a complete different skeleton system than the horse because we walk different than the horse. Yet there are some similarities, but the horse doesn't have a collarbones. We do. So when we sit on the horse, we can't lean too far forward, to the left or to the right side, and we cannot sit too far back in the saddle. The way we need to sit in the saddle is like we're sitting on a drum when we're riding down the river. You gotta be balanced, otherwise we tip over if you're too far left, right, front, back. So where's that sweet spot? The sweet spot is where the horse's sternum plate is with the rider's sternum plate. On the bottom right here, you see a skeleton of the horse and rider. And you see the sternum plate marked with an X on the black line and the horse's sternum plate marked with an X. So if you align these two spots, you know them as the sweet spot. And then, of course, you want to use what nature gives you. Your spine has curves, and these are shock absorptions. So when you have that shoulder, hips, and heels alignment, that's your neutral seat. That's how we need to sit on the horse. Very balanced. Now, also very often known is we need to sit on the horse as if we're standing. With the difference in standing, we put our weight on our feet. On the horse, we put our weight on our seat bones. But we got to keep the natural alignment of our spine. We can't sit like we sit on the toilet or on the chair. We can't sit round or too far back. That just cripples our back and, of course, hurts the horses long term. So where do we sit? How do we do it? And what's all of this mapping all of the horse? So there's 5 lines. One is over the widest point of the shoulder. One is behind. I already talked about the sternum plate, line 3. This is your balance line. And then line 4 is the last rib, the weight-bearing surface. And then there's 4 inches further back, another line, that's line 5. To the right, you will learn and you will understand why this is so important to identify the 14 trigger points which each horse has on the left and 14 on the right. Your equipment, your pad, your draw reins, your side reins, your saddle, your girth, never should sit or fit or hit or hurt. So really, really important to know where these trigger points I'm trying to avoid so very bad. So line 2 is behind the shoulder blade, the green line, and line 3 is the red line or the pink line you see here on the sternum plate. Sometimes line 2 and line 3 could be very close together. Okay, so that is very important. So again, here we see where that sweet spot is. If your sternum aligns with the horse's sternum and you got that nice shoulder, hips, and heel alignment. Clearly on this picture here, you see it's not the case. The rider sits behind the center balance, right? Behind the balance line, and it doesn't have that perpendicular line, right? Shoulder, hips, and heels is not possible. So there's multiple problems we have here. So mapping out the horse, it's really, really important to align the rider right and stay away from nasty points like those 4 points you see here, especially on the top. BL13 is a lung meridian point. Less than grape pressure. So when you squish a grape, you push it together. That's not a lot of pressure. Imagine your saddle goes there and has way more pressure than grape pressure, and it hits that spot. That horse will have an increased heart rate, artificial heart rate increase, causes stress, also colic. Who needs to know that? Now that's why in the old days, mapping out horse was so important. Finding out the width of the spine, where the red dots are, is the lumbar of the spine. Don't put pressure there. Very, very key important. Remember line 5? Line 5 is 4 inches behind the last rib. That's where the third lumbar area is and where we are definitely see the widest lumbus versus processes. Then on the bottom, you see the longest muscle on the right side of the horse. And on the left side of that horse with the muscle, you see the skinny one to the spine, the multifidus. You want to stay away from that too. So you learn out by simple mapping out the horse where the trapezius is, the rhombi, the the spinalis and longissimus. You see the cross section here on the left, and on the right you see very far right you see the superficial muscle, and then the next layer underneath. So all these areas where the horse is really strong to maintain and carry the rider in the saddle, we need to find where is that spot. So from the top, you start off looking at the two horses on the left. You see the musculature, and then you see the skeleton. On the skeleton, you see the spine. Don't sit on the horse's spine. Remember that thin multifidus muscle I showed you previously? Never sit on that. Okay, it's very important to avoid that. Don't sit on the scapula, on the long meridian points. Don't sit in the lumbar area. Very important. So the pink area on the left of these two horses where the muscles are, you want to sit on the longissimus dorsi. It's right written there on the bottom of the horizontal red line. And the triangle, you want to stay away, the spinalis and the trapezius. Looking at the right picture, you can see how that saddle support area looks from the side. So what can you do? Once you identify and map the horse, check that to your saddle. A thumb rule is the spinal width of the saddle needs to be a man's fist wide. Clearly the saddle on the picture here, it's not a fist wide and will cause massive problems on the spine, which we see with thermography, deformity on the vertebrae, and the list goes on and on and on. People ask me all the time, I map up my horse, I got a saddle, why am I going to keep doing this? Why do I need to keep doing it? Saddle fitting is an ongoing process to continue to align the horizontal and the vertical spine of the horses and human spine. So to avoid the discomfort and long-term damage, keep redoing the process, because the scapula will change, the musculature will change, and by simple mapping out the horse, you don't need to instantly get saddle fitters. You can check the problems before they arise. Very easy to identify. Please keep in mind that horses often get ridden when they're very young, at 15 months, right? And sometimes at 2 years already perform. At that stage, the horse is only developed to the knee, the radius, the humerus, the scapular, and the spine, and the gross capsule haven't even formed yet. So often horses get ridden way before they're totally developed. Now, do you want to do it in a saddle what hinders and cripples their body and their bone, or do you want to give it space to grow into it? Now, that's easier said than done, right? So imagine you give a child who is, let's say, 7 years old, a pair of shoes they're going to wear when they're 9 or 12 or 20 years old, right? So nobody would do it because that poor child can't walk because the shoe is too big. But often we led to believe you can do it with a saddle. Absolutely nonsense. The same with shoes on the feet, right? They have to fit that moment. The farrier would never shoe a horse and says, oh, he goes in this big shoe, right? Yet in the saddle industry, people do not understand the growth stage of the horse, and for sure not the tree width in the tree angle like demonstrated in this picture. So once you understand line 1 is over the widest point, line 2 is behind the shoulder, line 3 is the sternum plate, line 4 is where the end of the last rib is, and line 3 where the widest and longest part of the spinal processes is, it is easy to align the horse and rider together. It is easy to identify, like you see in this picture here, that saddle clearly is too long, and where does it sit? It sits on the spinal processes. So all these points, we talked about the long meridian point, which is just in the front top right corner of that pink bar where the horse can carry a lot of weight for long term. But if you hit one of those reflex points, the horse will show you quite a bit discomfort. Now, often saddles have been designed now, and many veterinarian universities writing articles that the new modern tree cause big problems. So the white outline here shows you that there's only pressure on the front and in the back, nothing in the middle. You see it also with thermography, with the computerized saddle pads. You see, as I said, universities writing article about this. You see dry spots like this. The horse will not bring up the back like you want to see on the bottom right. The back comes up, spinal processes opens up, no pain, no long-term damage, right? By knowing where the saddle should sit, by mapping out the horse, you will avoid that the horse's back goes down and then you have big problems. So the horse will give you the back, they will round up, use the top muscle, will grow into it. So please find a person who knows the how, not just the why, not just the how, because remember, the person who knows the how will always follow the person who knows the why. Think about that. right? So now you know where the saddle can sit, why it can't sit in the front or in the back or on the spine. That person will find out if you sit in the anatomically correct saddle, because often the problem is not the horse saddle fit, it's the rider saddle fit. So we can see if the rider sits in the perpendicular line, shoulder, hips, and heels, and if you're over the balance point. Very easy. Please educate yourself. I've flown around the world so many times, met so many wonderful professors who helped me to develop this curriculum for you, for many people who love horses just like you. You have a choice. You can educate yourself with books. There's many tools out there what can make sure this is herding horse, this is not a horse herding. Okay, so if you're eager to expand your knowledge and find a solution to saddle fit question, look no further. Our evidence-based saddle fit education offers comprehensive online courses designed to deepen your understanding, to offer anatomically correct saddle fit for you and your horse. So check us out on saddlefitforlife.com. Thanks very much, and I'll see you at the next webinar.
For more free educational content, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. Or if you're interested in furthering your education beyond free content, we'd love to chat with you. You can book a call with one of our instructors to learn more about our courses. We offer evidence-based saddle fit education that is online and self-paced, so you can fit it to your own schedule. And we have different courses both for horse owners and riders, as well as for equine professionals, and continuing professional development credit for veterinarians as well. I can't wait to see you in the next video, or maybe even welcome you to the Saddle Fit for Life Academy permanently.